Hello, I'm Tapasi Casada, and this is my needs assessment for unaccompanied children and adolescents. This is my agenda of what components I will be covering for my presentation. Before jumping into my purpose, I want to go over some quick research information. So the top 3 countries of where these children come from is Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. Minors are escaping poverty and oppression from Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. So in many of these cities, especially Guatemala and El Salvador, they do run away from violent gangs that are taking over their cities. Top 3 reasons of why they leave home is to seek a better opportunities, violence in society, violence in the home, or deprivation. The purpose of this needs assessment project was to evaluate and identify present resources and needed resources for unaccompanied children and adolescents. For my data collection, I conducted 2 interviews. For the first one was Natseli Chavez. She works for Credence Services. She is a youth worker there, and she interns at David Margaret in their DUGO program, which is the foster care services for unaccompanied children. So Alicia Castro also works for Credence Services as a case manager, has worked with youth all her life. And a little bit, since both of my interviews do work for Credence Services, a little bit of the services they provide for unaccompanied children are listed here, and they also do provide 24/7 shelter, and these kids are supervised. And this is their mission statement for their agency. And for the first key finding is what are challenges experienced by unaccompanied children and adolescents. So first challenge, separation of families. These kids are being separated from their families. They are uneducated of the process they have to go through in order to stay here. Changes of norms to the U.S., challenges of traveling alone and with no money and looking for shelter, risking their life to be able to feel safe, and experience of being alone bring poor mental health, for example, trauma or anxiety. What are strengths of unaccompanied children and adolescents? So they are willing to travel alone for their family. They're willing to come to this country to send money to their home country. They're willing to learn. And being here in the US, they really do mean well and they are grateful. What are needed services for unaccompanied children and adolescents? So they really do need to properly transition to American norms, equip them to the right ESL classes. By that, I mean that they get placed in grade levels that are aligned to their age, and most of them do lack education. Second one is additional challenges within the legal perspective. So the immigration court system, there is no right uh, to appointed counsel, which means these vulnerable populations like children and adolescents, they have to explain legal reason of why they should not be deported. So everyone does have the right to find and pay for their own attorney, but the government has no obligation to help anyone find one. So without an attorney, they have to represent themselves, and eventually the case has to move on. So with a law firm that does provide universal representation to all immigrants facing deportation, immigrant defenders, these are a little bit of services they provide. So they help unaccompanied children, youth, adults with mental health challenges, legal permanent residents facing deportation due to unlawful conviction, know your rights classes, social services case managers, advocacy for further universal representation, and establishing a public defender program of immigrants. So, with putting together all key findings and results, these are recommendations I came up with. So, a program to transition them properly to a new environment. So, for example, sometimes if they're taking out to the park on a walk, any person with like tattoos on their body can give them, trigger them to remember the gangs and violence in their home country. So, I believe a good program to transition them properly can be helpful. Equipping them to correct educational level and not aligning them with their age level. So give them educational support also by informing them of past children and adolescents that have been successful in the U.S. that can give them motivation, and also a helpful crisis intervention model. I mean, this is important for all children going into the foster care system. So, meaning these kids have to travel alone, and we never know about all the experiences they have to go through. And how did I share my findings in the interview with interview sites? So I do plan to send my PowerPoint presentation via email to Credits and Services. I will be going over findings with current internship placement, so especially the DoGo program. I hope to meet one-on-one with the interviewees and go over potential future goals for this population. So a little bit of the reflection on this project. I successfully found individuals that work directly with this population, help with actually learning about the issues these children personally open up to my interviewees. A little bit of barriers. We're unable to find agencies that got back to me after asking for a short interview. Agencies agencies don't really provide information on their websites because political issues. It was informative. It gave me the process of what unaccompanied children have to go through after coming into the U.S. Um, it definitely brought a big interest in helping this population in the near future as a second year placement. It was a new experience. It was certainly out of my comfort zone. It was importance of getting out and networking with other agencies that work with needed populations, and I learned about new challenges of these unaccompanied children and adolescents, and I gained knowledge and experience connecting with other individuals and organizations. And thank you so much.